Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health Huddle. Health Huddle is a new segment that I'll be introducing. It's me interviewing different healthcare professionals and within the field and just adding more value to the Wellness Monday videos. Today, I have Kevin Cortez with me, and you can introduce yourself now.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Kelvin Cortez. I am a mental health therapist. I serve in the Alabama area. I am an associate licensed clinical mental health therapist. I'm also a life coach. And on the outer layer of my mental health journey, I'm a photographer and also a fashion stylist. So quite a few things that I do. Oh, and a musician. Forgot about that. So quite a few things I do, but I really do love mental health. Mental health has my heart. I serve the populations with individuals who were been traumatized over the years, children and adults. I also work with addiction and also marriage and family. So I'm kind of spread across the board, very eclectic therapist. And so, yes, that's me. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thank you for joining us. So, today I have three different segments that I'll be talking to you about. And the first one is exercise and mental health, with question one being, how does regular physical exercise impact overall well-being?
There's a few areas. So, really quick, any type of physical activity helps endorphins in the brain. So basically, um, reducing stress, right? Reducing anxiety, working out, any type of physical activity can help lower those levels in the brain. So collectively, I believe that there's no set workout that you can do to really just cover all aspects of it, but any type of movement helps with mental health and exercising. So it helps the dopamine levels, right? It can
Mhm.
also increase blood flow in the brain. So a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know that working out can help that. I'm like, yeah, it helps. Even releasing good chemicals in the brain. Like I said, dopamine and endorphins, right? And it improves brain flexibility. So the brain and exercising and mental health, they all go hand in hand. So there's not one workout that I will recommend as a therapist, but any type of movement, right? That can help the physical aspect of mental health. Of course, you hear people say, I'm going to the gym to relieve the stress. They're they're saying it, and it's actually proven scientifically that hey, working out can improve your stress levels, cortisol levels to be exact. So it plays a big part in the mental health arena.
I can definitely piggyback off of that. I know for me, I go to the gym because it's my stress reliever. I'm someone who loves to go in the evenings, but I'm working towards going in the mornings just so I can start my day in a happier mindset. But I tell everyone like exercise, like our motto is exercise is medicine. We're the pharmacy because exercise truly is medicine, especially for mental health. And we also had a
Yes.
segment on mental health for exercise. I mean, exercise for mental health. And it's just the benefits are there. It's just pushing that narrative and teaching people that you can do it at home or in the gym, wherever the case may be.
Mhm.
And
I agree.
you already answered like the second question I had was like, are there any specific types of exercises? But like you said, there isn't anything. You just have to figure out what works best for you. But which
Yeah.
will lay into my next question would be, could you give us any practical tips for incorporating exercise into like your daily routine, especially for individuals struggling with mental health challenges?
Yes. So something that I preach, and I'm sure a lot of therapists preach the same thing, self-care, right? So if
Hmm.
you have a self-care regimen, what would it be like to add 20 minutes, starting at a very micro level, starting at 20 minutes a day, that alone can reduce stress, right? So incorporating 20 minutes a day, and I know a lot of people are like, well, I just need to get started. Okay, start with 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour. No one said it had to be an hour. Just starting at a micro level and progressively get yourself to that place that you want to be. There's no specific number that you have to reach, but getting yourself acclimated to 20 minutes a day, that could be your first goal. And incorporating 30 minutes a day, right, into your self care regimen. Self care is not always going to get your nails done and haircuts. We oftentimes relate that to self care, but
Yes.
self care can also look like 20 minutes of exercise because I am stressed. So I feel the stress was coming and gone. Let me release all of this stress. Let's increase dopamine, the feel good chemicals by exercising at least 20 minutes a day. You're going to feel different regardless because your body's like, what is going on? And
Hmm.
then the brain signals all the other areas of your body. You're like, okay, this is something very new. And the brain is like, okay, let's get more of this. And that's how you have those increased dopamine levels. And so 20 minutes a day is all I would say to start off with. It doesn't have to be something so huge. We make it so huge, but we don't have to have that hour. Let's go be macho man in the gym. If you're at that level, I love that. But for the people who's just starting and who are dealing with several mental stressors, let's start at a minimum of 20 minutes a day. And that's all we have to do to increase it. And we can increase over time.
Exactly. Like it's more about how you start. If you know you're someone who is
That.
scared to start in the gym, if you don't have 20 minutes all at once, break it down to 10-minute sessions. It's just once you
Yes.
start and you get into that habit, you will start noticing the positive changes for your body. So just get out of your comfort zone. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So our next segment will be, well, section of questions is mental health stigma. We all know this mental health has a stigma behind it, and personally, I don't understand why. But the first question would be, how does the stigma surrounding mental health impact individuals seeking care? And can you describe real world consequences of this stigma?
This is a huge packed question. Stigma is something that I myself is working toward reducing in the mental health world. I don't know if I'll, as one individual, be able to decrease the stigma, but I'm trying. Stigma around mental health is absolutely probably one of the worst things we see in the field because you have people growing up, different cultures, different sectors, different religions, and everyone views mental health differently. And so I think that's probably the culprit of it. We all have a different definition of mental health. And if it wasn't introduced at a young age, then we go throughout life and we never revisit what it's like to have a proper mental health diet. That's what I like to call it. A lot of people, they just stray away. Stigma strays away. There's a lot of things that are a lot of barriers. For instance, cost may be a barrier for mental health that we see a lot. Also, location. So people in the rural areas, they don't really have access to mental health therapists. But with the help of technology, we can have mental health at our fingertips. But a lot of barriers and challenges that we see always surround stigma. And stigma can look like I just don't want to go to therapy. My parents never advocated for therapy in the household or personal beliefs. Therapy doesn't work. We get that all the time.
Hmm.
And my fight towards that is, therapy only works unless you allow it, right? So taking the first step, even if it's just one session, getting yourself to that out of that pre-contemplating stage of, I want to change, and getting yourself into a contemplative stage of saying, hey, I want to actually take the step. I want to look up the provider. If I have insurance, I want to look up the provider they have listed, or if I want to self-pay, right? We all have a lot of different ways of paying. Some people have a sliding scale. Some people have pro bono work, given their experience and given how they view mental health from a standpoint of payment. So a lot of people, they'll tell you, especially in African American culture, they'll tell you that what
Hmm.
goes on in the home stays in the home. So that automatically puts up a wall. I can't say anything because my parents said that or my grandparents said this. And it's a lot of suppression going on. So as a result, we have a lot of suppression, we have a lot of violence, we have a lot of addiction, we have a lot of unanswered questions. And you're like, well, where does this stem from? And it could be something, as minor as mental health stressors and undiagnosed, issues that we have and we face. And it's so hard to combat all of that when the world is against therapy. Luckily, in this age that we're going in and the growth of mental health, we're hearing people talk about it more, on a public standpoint. On social media, you have a lot of people who are diving into therapy, into mental health, into counseling. And so that's a good way, but we still have a lot of work and a lot of stigma, to go to break. So that's that.
Okay, so you touched on like in the African American community. So I want to go ahead and jump into the next question, and it's what role can individuals play in challenging mental health stigmas within their own communities? Because I fully believe we don't talk about it enough within the African American community. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So one of my biggest things, people hear me say this all the time, and they get tired of me, but planting seeds. So
Hmm.
planting seeds, I believe truly, someone in the family who it's usually like that one person who gets it, and like everybody else is like, no, you know, but that one person planting the seed of saying, hey, let's not think of it this way. Let's actually combat this. I see there's problems in the household. We should go get help. You know, it
Hmm.
doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that, hey, our family is dysfunctional. We need help, you know, and that
Yes.
stems from unanswered questions as a youth, unanswered questions as an adult, and then you have these problems in the household. Another thing too is advocacy. I love advocacy work, advocating for yourself, advocating for mental health. In the case that you're in a family that say, you know, you don't need to go to no therapy. You know, you have a teen. I always use this analogy. A teenager, we're going to say 14 years old, they're going to the parents and they're saying, well, mom, dad, I feel depressed. And the mom and dad say, hey, go wash those dishes. The child was trying to advocate for themselves and you said go
Yeah.
wash the dishes. That's insane work. So how about we change the narrative and say, hey, you know, let's talk about this. Having family meetings is so important. I always advocate for those family meetings, because it brings oneness and wholeness to a family as well. You can talk about the hard questions. You can have those hard conversations and say, hey, my mental health is not, you know, what it's like, you know, it's not adequate enough. You know, is there any help I can get to go and see a therapist? Is there any help I can get to go see a counselor and you guys talk it out as a family? But then again, we have those in that African American culture, you have those people that just don't understand the benefits of going to counseling and therapy. And so that's where it really starts in the household.
Yes. Like I also want to say that it's, oh, this person has been that way for so long. Like that's them, but that's not normal. We should seek help and attention for those that need it instead of seeing it as normal. Because when you see it
Mhm.
as normal, they're not ever going to get help because, oh, he's been that way his whole life or she's been that way his whole life. Then that's an issue. Let's address that
An
issue.
issue. Yes, yes. And I think sometimes in the Black household, African American household, we glorify those issues. So let's just take alcohol use, for example. We see Uncle Joe spending out of control, right? But
Hmm.
no one is saying, you know, well, I wonder where the root of that is coming from. I wonder what, you know, is he hiding anything? Is he hurting on the inside? No one thinks of that because he, on the outer appearance, seemed like he's having a great time and he's the star of the show. Really, he could be hurting, right? It could be a trauma response. You know, I'm going to drink because I don't know how to tell someone in my family that I was molested as a young child. I don't know how to tell them that maybe life was hard for me growing up because I had, you know, no attachment to my parents. Things like that. We don't think about those hard questions until it's too late, you know,
True.
until
Yes.
it's too late. And it doesn't have to be like that. It does not have to, the narrative does not have to be like that. So that's what I would love to attack, you know, as we're moving forward in the mental health world, you know, how in the world do we get those people to counseling? Um, and I'm a big advocate too. I'm contracted at a college as a trio counselor, so I always change the word counseling to something like let's chat, let's talk, let's
Hmm.
have Kel time, something outside the norm of the word counseling because people run from that word for some reason. And so changing the language to really adapt to the people, I found that to help a lot too.
Yeah, and I can definitely say changing the language, even for me, like I when I say exercise and fitness, like I had to change fitness to exercise and just teaching people that exercise is you paying your body back for everything that you've done to it because it helps you.
Um,
There's so many benefits behind exercise, and it's also the cheapest form of medicine, but we don't want to push it because no one makes profit off of it. But that's the thing, we shouldn't be wanting to profit off of healing people's body. the natural way.
Right. Natural rate. And even exercising, I'm sorry to go back to that, it
No, you're
it
good.
it can reduce cognitive decline. So a lot of people are like, oh, my cognitive functioning is super low, or I just very cloudy up here.
Hmm.
And one benefit overall to the cognitive world of mental health and exercising is it can reduce the decline of things like dementia. So there are studies out now that is relating, the benefits of exercising to reducing dementia. And I just like that is so cool because a lot of times, we push medicine, to reduce that dementia from spreading and getting worse. But what about if we exercise? How does that, that's also a form of medicine as well. I love how you incorporate that because that is so true.
Yes. And the last segment of questions is around prevalence rates and barriers to accessing care. So the first one would be, could you share some statistics on the prevalence of mental health conditions in the general population? And how do these numbers vary across different demographics? You can just more so talk about the demographics that you work with
Okay.
firsthand.
So I will say African American, after COVID, numbers kind of spiked, which was to be expected. So after COVID, I would say there's been an increase of depressive episodes, of depressive moods, about 40% in the African American population. Granted, this is something that kind of blew me away. I did not know that it would increase so much because you'd have thought that with all the stimulus money, people getting increased funds and being able to stay at home, from the real world, that would probably decrease. But no, it definitely increased the prevalence. And I work also in a college setting. So college setting, something that I see the most in college students would be adjustment and depression. And so a lot
Mm,
of times people are like, well, what in the world am I doing at college? Why am I even here? My parents pushed me here. And so that really take a toll on adjusting, and it also increases depression. So we see a number of college students, coming in with depressive symptoms, and that's about on average about I want to say about 30% now. It increased over the last 2 years, and I'm just like, well, how can we reduce this number? What can we do to set different factors in place so we can have college students actually focusing on college and not their actual main issues of stress, anxiety, depression, and adjustment disorders. And so you'll see a lot of people on TikTok, I know, advocating for college students that are having adjustment issues. So those are some of the diagnoses that we see a lot over the span of college students, and also as a independent, as an ALC, I see it all over. Um, Populations such as African Americans, really minority populations. And I hate using that word, but I always like to say developing. But the minority populations, we do see more mental health issues, increase in mental health diagnoses over the years.
and I want to say it's solid because we sweep it under the rug, and there's nothing wrong with you, but there is. You just don't want to talk about it.
You just don't want to talk about it. And once you dissect it all, it always seems to come back to something that we swept under the rug. And we can
Hmm.
only the human body can only digest so much, right? We can only handle so much. And once we spiral, right? I always use the analogy of a Coke bottle and then shake it up, and you shake up the Coke bottle, things explode, it erupts, right? And then sometimes the mess get on you, but it can also get on someone beside you. And so I always think about how can mental health can become so your mental health can become so scattered that it affects people around you and you have no idea, right? You're just in denial, and you have no idea that this affecting your family, it's affecting your children, just your daily functioning overall. So it's still a crisis. I always say we're in the middle of a crisis, but and that's because we really do sweep things under the rug. We don't talk about it. We don't have the conversations.
We don't. So let's talk about what resources are available to individuals struggling with mental health challenges and how can they find affordable and accessible care?
Affordable and accessible care. That is something that I believe could use more work and research on myself. I know in some areas, like the area I live in, I'm in the Gulf Coast, so the areas that I live in, we have actual community resources that help locate those therapists and counselors. We have a lot of people who are on BetterHelp.com. So
I've
searching
heard of
that
that.
and BetterHelp is a beautiful platform to help locate counselors and therapists. And then from there, you can really get their rates. You can see, hey, do they have a sliding scale? If I'm self-paying, well, how much does that cost? Initially, can I afford to self-pay or do I need insurance? And in most cases, a lot of counselors, what we're doing is we're using the benefits of a sliding scale. That means we make our own price, depending on your financial hold, we can make it, very affordable to you. A lot of times, people have that, they spread the word that counseling is so expensive. It is. It's really an
Hmm.
investment. It's a luxury. I tell people all the time that if you would just put as much, you know, time and effort in your mental health, just as we do our physical health, what a beautiful collision that would be, right? So we're marrying the two. I
Hmm.
never think, I never thought that it should be separated, right? I think you should marry the two. If your physical health is good, that means something on the lines of your mental health. You have a strong mental health status, and so I do believe that finding a therapist and a counselor is accessible. You just have to really do the work, just with anything else. Finding a cardiologist, right? We want to find a good cardiologist. And your primary doctor, they can also make referrals to counselors and therapists that they have in the community. But BetterHelp and Psychology Today is two of the biggest platforms that I believe that are the most helpful into accessing care.
And before I let you go, what is one key message you would like to leave our listeners with regarding mental health and well-being?
Mental health and well-being, one of the things that I would love to leave with the viewers, listeners, whomever is watching this is plant the seed, plant the seed, plant the seed. I believe in harvest, so I love to see things grow. And once you plant the seed, even if it's in yourself, doing things for yourself is not selfish. Plant the seed and water what waters you, because I believe that harvest, we see things harvest once we take care of the seed. And so planting it, cultivating it, starting at a micro level of any change is always good to get to the macro. I said about seven things there, but I believe that incorporating those things is very, very crucial to our mental well-being and giving back to ourselves.
Yeah, like I tell people all the time that it's okay to be selfish because at the end of the day, what you decide for
Mhm.
yourself is your life. You're the one who, whatever you decide, you have to do that. If you decide that you don't want to go hang out with someone, put yourself first because you don't want to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And I feel that sometimes we feel that we can't be selfish, but it's your life. You create your own destiny.
Truly. Boundaries. Boundaries are
Yes.
so beautiful.
Yes.
I think that alone could help heal so much that we have going on mentally that's causing us a lot of stressors. Boundaries,
Mhm.
implementing those. And it's okay to be selfish. It's okay
It
to be selfish.
is.
Make your own decisions for yourself, because at the end of the day, you're still your own individual. You that's all you have. You have your mental status, your mental health. That's really something that you can take and grow if you really want to. And you don't have to listen to everybody else say that, oh, this is just how he is or this is how she is. No, you can take control of that. It's
Mhm.
possible. It's doable. We have enough resources in the community. We have a lot of counselors in the field that are growing. The field is growing day by day. I always tell people, we in the world of AI, but AI can't feel emotions. So get to a
That's
therapist. So
yes.
get to a therapist.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for being our first guest of this Health Huddle. I appreciated this conversation with you today. I feel that this conversation was very important to be the first episode in this series because we don't talk about mental health enough. And I touched on it with a Wellness Monday video, but having it come from a mental health provider
Hmm.
is more important. Like I can only tell them so much, but when you bring in the information, the facts, and the key points, I feel like it'll hit people more and understand like, hey, this is an issue. This is something we should talk about. And also, don't be afraid.
Don't
Talk
be
about
afraid.
things. Even if you're not ready to talk to someone, journal, write it down, and then when you're ready to talk,
Yes.
take it with you and just break down everything because we tend to fail to realize that, oh, I have all this balled up with me, and exercise can only help you manage it so much.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. Just those hard conversations, man. I have had
Hmm.
to have so many hard conversations with myself and with
Hmm.
others. And it's hard. Of course, we have so much anxiety built up around the conversation, but releasing it, oh my
Yes.
goodness, the body is just, I don't even know how, um, I can't even tell you how important it is to listen to your body and in certain areas, especially with mental health. I believe in the hard conversations. I know that they don't feel good. I know they don't sound good. And we just taking that pride out the way and having it is a beautiful start. And then that helps the flow of counseling and flow of therapy goes even better, especially when you're new to counseling and this is your first or second session, you're getting to know your therapist or your counselor. It's so important um, to be able to build that trust factor, that relationship with the therapist versus the client is beautiful. It's so crucial.
Yes.
But like I say, if you allow mental health counseling to work, then it will. But if you don't,
It won't.
it won't go anywhere.
Well, thank you everyone for watching this first episode of Health Huddle. I hope you all found this information to be very informative. If you have any questions, I'll tag him below. Just reach out to him because your mental health plays a big part in your overall health. So take care of yourself, do self-care, and
Yeah,
just understand that this conversation and this topic isn't something to be afraid of. It's completely normal.
completely normal. Thank you for having me. I'm open to speaking with anybody, personally, if you want just any pointers of like, hey, I'm scared to take the first step. We
Hmm.
can talk. I'm open to that. Even if you're in a different area other than Alabama or the Gulf Coast, I do have counseling colleagues in many states, so we're ready to work. We're ready to put in the work for the better of our own society. So you can reach me at Kelvin Cortez on Facebook. You can email me at bethevisionaire@gmail.com. So it's BETHE vision, VISION, NAIR @gmail.com. That's my personal um, invite to the business, all that good stuff. So you can shoot me an email there if you want to talk about counseling, if you want to get counseling. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.